Etihad seems to be going with sort of high-end premium service when a lot of people these days want to travel light or go with budget airlines. Do you think you're moving in the right trend, right direction?
Because we're new, one has to be very focused again on segmentation. We offer 3 class, 2 class and 1 class. So we place the asset, the aircraft, where the market demand is. And our pricing and economy has to be as competitive as the hybrid low-cost models too. Now most of the low-cost carriers, are working within that 3-hour segment, AirAsia. Not many are working 5, 6, 7 hours up into the Middle East and up into Europe. So again, what is important when you're taking somebody from Indonesia or Malaysia or from Thailand is that the service on board, the interaction with you as a traveller, maybe your first time flying up over the Gulf or flying into Europe or into the Middle East, that we look after you. And in looking after you, it's a competitive fare. That's great on-board service, and making sure that when you arrive at your destination, we ensure that you either transit or you depart in an efficient manner. The low-cost model of Europe and what you have here in Asia with AirAsia is very much for those 2 to 3 hour segments, not for the long-haul flights. But where we do have to compete with economy products with other carriers, of course, we're competitively priced. I think the consumer likes to get a little bit more on those longer sectors.
Does Etihad being based in Abu Dhabi in the UAE give it a kind of strategic location as well, being in the middle between Asia and Europe, Asia and the US?
Yeah, look, absolutely. If you consider the success of the Asian carriers, they were built on geography and aircraft technology. So in the 70s, it used to take 4 stops from Australasia to Europe. Then as we moved in the 80s, it took 2 stops, so the Bangkok hub, the Singapore hub, the Hong Kong hub. Now you have the Gulf hubs. And the advantage that we do bring is that our roadmap is different too. We fly into secondary cities of India that major carriers don't. So of course we fly into Bombay and New Delhi, where most airlines do, but we go into Cochin, we go into the regions of Kerala, we fly into the Middle East cities, we fly into Baghdad every day, we fly into a whole range of cities that most Asian carriers or even European carriers don't. So that fan that we offer is also more comprehensive, and of course as we go up into Europe we fly to London, Frankfurt, Paris, but also to a range of secondary cities, Dublin, Brussels, Milan.
James, is the travel industry right now in a very difficult time because we're having the Middle East crisis, we're having rising oil prices, Japan's nuclear crisis, and some economic crisis in some European countries?
One of the challenges for the travel industry is that we're obviously always going through some type of crisis, whether it be the volcano last year in Europe, whether it be the freeze of the European airports in December, or as you say, the challenges that we face this year. So one has to adapt. And in the airline industry, due to the global nature of our business, we have to redeploy capacity to manage that shock. That's a fact of working in this business. We are impacted by economic cycles, by war, by tsunami, by SARS. So that's a fact of life because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with factors, quite frankly, that are outside your control. So the key is to ensure that you're agile and you move through it as fast as you can, or you take steps to ensure you mitigate as much as the risk.
Which of these factors actually impact the airline industry the most right now?
Well, quite depends on where you deploy your capacity. We're obviously an airline based out of the Gulf. We're based out of Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the United Arab Emirates. So the challenges obviously in North Africa hit the Middle East airlines, as did the challenges in Cairo. One of the first, quite frankly, actions for us was to work with the government to bring nationals out of Egypt back to Abu Dhabi. It also impacted tour business coming out of all regions of the world over Abu Dhabi into Egypt. We then saw the challenges obviously within the Gulf itself, which slowed down some of the business traffic, but that's part of running an airline. The main concern for me has been the impact of the oil price. We continue to see the increase in oil. It's a major part of not only our cost base but all airlines. We're fortunate we're hedged at 75% for this calendar year, and for the first half of this year we're hedged at 80%. So, we have a hedging cycle which is rolling 3 years. So we're hedged at 75% this year. As of today, I'm hedged at 50% in 2012 and 25% in 13. So we use hedging as a mechanism to give us certainty in our business year, because we know there's going to be different shocks, not only this year, but next year and the year after.
How competitive is the market right now?
Well, it depends what segment you're looking at. If you look at the Asian market, and obviously you look at Thailand, Thailand is a very important market of ours, and we bring predominantly Europeans in for leisure, so that whether that be from the UK, from France and Germany. We bring people from the Gulf for medical tourism and for leisure tourism. And of course from the system we're bringing business travellers in to Thailand also. So when you look at airlines, that's segmentation and revenue management, and that determines what price you set. At the moment, Thailand is very attractive because we're trying to bring more people out of Europe. Because of the economic challenges in Europe, we're having to stimulate the market to get more Europeans to come to Thailand. And what is important is that as we work with people like Bangkok Airways, is that we're offering greater distribution not only into Bangkok but into the other regions, into the leisure destinations of Thailand. We put 2 Boeing 777s into Thailand every day. That's a big capacity, over 800 seats. So it's very important that we are working with the tour operators. We're currently working with the Tourism Department of Thailand to stimulate more business, to ensure that people are coming here and spending 7 or 14 days depending on their package. And at the same time, it gives us the mass coming out of Thailand into the Gulf as we take people home, but also as we bring Thai people into the Gulf to work. As you know, there are many Thais working in the construction companies. There's also many Thais, for example, working in my airline in cabin crew and pilots. So, we see business going in both directions. It's not just one direction.
But is Asia your growing market?
Well, we're a global airline and we're only 7 years old. We're the fastest growing airline in the history of commercial aviation. And we have a major footprint here in Asia, in India, also in Australasia, in Europe and in the Americas. We're a global business. But obviously Asia and India is a very important market due to the size of the population, the opening of the markets, whether that be people from the region travelling over the Gulf to Europe, or people from Europe coming over the Gulf into Southeast Asia. That's very strong traffic flows in both directions.
I see. A lot of countries these days are trying to build high-speed trains. Now, for near destinations, 2 or 3 hours by airlines.
Yeah.
I think in the future people can travel by train as well. Is that
Good.
a threat to airlines?
Well, again, it depends on your network. If you see some of the European airlines, they have in fact cut back on their narrow bodies for that reason, because they see more high-speed rail services, common gauges. At the end of the day, if that makes sense and it means you deploy your asset elsewhere where you're going to get a better return with that aircraft, so be it. It doesn't make sense for, quite frankly, for large aircraft to operate 30, 45 minutes. They were built for longer sectors. So, that's a dynamic that will be where you'll see change, region by region, city by city, based on the infrastructure.